Hi. It's been a minute, so let me introduce myself. KTXX22 reading. My name is Caitlin, and I have been thinking about this for a while, and the further I get into my own personal development, I thought it would be a good idea to sit down and talk through my journey to body neutrality and a healthy relationship with food. So if you scroll way back on any of my social media, you will see where I really started posting, specifically on like Instagram and YouTube, when I started powerlifting. And when I got into powerlifting, I had already been dieting, restricting what I eat to lose weight. I had done 5Ks, and I had lost like 60 to 80 pounds from my highest weight at the time, which was 320 pounds. I can insert some pictures, that way you know what we're working with. We're going to go back further than that, though. We're going to go back to childhood and being a fat child. My mom always told me that I didn't want to be like the other kids, that there was nothing wrong with me. But at the same time, she also encouraged me to diet and would get frustrated with me when she would find wrappers of food or whatever, or find out that I hadn't made a healthy choice, had binged on snack cakes or whatever was around. And it was basically being on a diet from the age of 8 until I got pregnant with my son. So February, March of 2019, on some form of like restrictive eating diet situation. That's kind of hard to talk about, right? Like, you want to talk about like your health journey and whatnot. I have done it all: Weight Watchers, Atkins, macro, micro, calorie counting, input versus input versus input versus output, punishing myself for overeating with more exercise, extra workouts on extra workouts on extra workouts, powerlifting, teaching group fitness classes, and still doing other things on top of that. And I just thought, even at my healthiest, even at my lowest weight, which was 223.8, I mean, like, should you be able to remember that your lowest weight as an adult, like to the 100th decimal place? But I do. I remember, I actually have a picture of it on social media. It was like the weekend of Easter that year. There's a lot of other stuff in there, like dating a narcissist, specifically my ex-boyfriend, who told me I would be perfect if I just got rid of my stretch marks. If I lost like 20 pounds. Bitch, I gave you my best body. Like, you got her at the best. And at the time, like my lowest, rather, if we're gonna view that as the best, which we're not. Spoiler alert, we're not. And I was really unhealthy. I was extremely healthy in the eyes of the world, in the sense of I looked really good and I was very strong and I was eating a specific way, but everything was counted and everything was regimented. And I look back on that time and I'm like, oh my, it was like deep in the throes of an eating disorder, over exercising, wearing myself down, not sleeping, working full time, the whole kit and caboodle, not going to family dinners. There's a lot of stuff there. And at the time, in my mind, it was the most important thing in my life. It was the thing that kept me going. It was the thing that brought me joy. And I was, in a friendship with all the people that I trained with at the gym. They were my best friends. They're the people that I wanted to talk with, but I didn't really have or make time for anybody else. So that would make sense. that they would be the only friends in my life. And I know that sounds really sad, but when you grow, I grew up in the 90s. I was a teen in the early 2000s. So I'm old, basically. And it was fucking hard being a fat kid in that time period. And kids were mean. I was bullied a lot. I always thought high school only lasts a few years. I can get out of this place and it'll be different. And it was different. It wasn't, worse, but it was hard. It was hard, like never being asked to the dance or never being asked out on a date, like your traditional, high school, movies or YA books, and you're like, oh, it's gonna be so cute. They're gonna ask me out to prom, and quite frankly, it just never happened for me. I had a lot of really good friends, and I had a really amazing friend group, and I was in marching band and theater, which was heaven. It still is. Who am I kidding? I met a lot of really amazing people, and what I know now about that time period of my life is that I was evolving. I was evolving into like my first baby step as an adult, right? A lot of my closest friends, we bonded because we were the kids that were fat. We were the fat kids. And nobody wanted to date us. So we rallied together and we were just this ragtag misfits group of people. And I think like now it's so much more socially acceptable clothing options. Who is she? I remember there was like 2 stores. One store was all grandma clothes. Catherine's, if you know her, you know her. The other one was Fashion Bug, because we were too poor for Lane Bryant. Lane Bryant was out of the price range. And we would go to Fashion Bug, and they had like one rack of clothing that was like acceptable, like cool clothes for the youths. Of course, then you buy like the jeans, like the funky jeans that had like a funky pattern or whatever, and you would end up at school within the next 7 weeks wearing the same jeans as the other fat kids, like on the same day. Like you would all end up wearing the same, and it was kind of embarrassing. It was kind of embarrassing when that was the only place that we all could shop at that was within a price range that was reasonable for our families. And now I think about the accessibility to plus size fashion. It's still not great, but it is getting better and there are more options. As an adult, being able to buy those options and like dress myself the way I want to be dressed, and what I'm comfortable in. Now, granted, I am wearing a horror novel summer reading cutoff t-shirt and a sports bra, but worry about yourself. I digress. My eating habits weren't always great, right? A lot of binging, binging because I restricted. Like, oh, I ate like shit. I drank too much last night. I ate like shit. So now I'm not gonna eat until dinner tonight, which is a disordered form of eating. It's an eating disorder. And what I've learned in books like Health at Every Size by Lindo Bacon and The Fuck It Diet, which I just finished, and I'm still educating myself and I'm still reading more books about this type of stuff. And I actually came about my anti-diet, body neutrality, kind of, what's the word? Organically, because as I do the research now, I realize what I've been doing for the past 3 going on 4 years now is untraining myself from the mentality of a powerlifter who was literally force feeding myself because you need the calories and blah blah blah, like doesn't matter if you're not hungry, or the flip side of that was also I only am allowed to have this many calories a day and it's gonna have to suffice. No carbs, low carb, high protein, more protein than God. I mean, like protein on protein. You want some tuna with your chicken? You want some tuna with your tuna? Green vegetables until you never want to eat them again. So by the time you would get to a point where you finally were able to enjoy something like a holiday, I would fucking go all out. I am talking like gorge myself on sugar and sweets. And I'd be like, all right, well, tomorrow I gotta get back in the gym. I mean, I've gotta like beat myself up to cover this. God, it's so hard to talk about that because of how wrong that mentality is, and how dangerous that is for your health, and how dangerous that is for, sorry, let me adjust myself, how dangerous that is for your health, and how dangerous that is for just your overall well-being. And what I didn't know, and what I'm finding out, is that by dieting and restricting for a long period of time, also known as over half of my life now, on a diet or another, I damaged my metabolism and adjusted my weight's range into a higher threshold every time, because your body doesn't want to be in that mode, which is why people who lose weight typically gain it back and then some. You ever wonder why somebody does that? They lose a bunch of weight and then they gain it back. And the few people who lose the weight and keep it off long term, I mean, I would say that I lost the weight relatively quickly the first time I lost the weight, and I kept it off for 6-7 years. And I think had I stopped before I got obsessive into the powerlifting world and the dieting and the tracking and everything, I gotta make sure I track all my stuff so I keep my streak up on MyFitnessPal and all of that. I think that had I stopped then, I might have been able to maintain the weight loss that I had achieved, which was about 60 pounds. So we'll say like 260. Is that good math? Yeah, 260. Had I stayed there, I think I would have been able to maintain it. But the issue is that I continued to diet and I continued to exercise myself into oblivion until I got down to that 223.8. And I thought, oh, what's the lowest I can go? Like, how ripped, how toned can I be? And it wasn't sustainable. It was one of those things where as soon as I would ease up on my dieting, I would gain weight instantly. I'm telling you, 10, 15, 20 pounds within weeks of not even like going off the fucking rails on the, I'm just saying like loosening up the reins a little bit, having a nice dinner out with my boyfriend at the time, who's now my husband. I gained weight like crazy. And it didn't make any sense because I was still working out. I was still eating relatively healthy, just not like as pared down as I was eating it. And what I've learned in the reading I've been doing is that that's just my body doing what it was supposed to do, because it was so depleted from years of the strictest, most regimented diet and exercise routine that just was like free for all, hold on to it. You know that meme that you see where it's like, dinner where it lasts, you know, the potato famine, because I'm Irish. At least I think I am. I'm a basic cracker. Okay, I got nothing to offer the table. An ethnicity other than whiteness. I leveled out there before I got pregnant with my son at like 320, so I had gained everything I lost back. And it took 10 years. It took me 2 years to lose the first 60 pounds, and then I would say another 4 years to lose the next 40-ish pounds. And I remember just being terrified of being fat and terrified of my body and feeling like, oh, if I don't lose the weight initially, I'll never have a boyfriend, and I'll never be happy, and not that this was the dawn of the fat positivity movement. I just wasn't, it might have been, but I wasn't aware of it. And I wasn't aware of my value being other than, skinny. I'm so thin, which I've never been. So I don't know why I thought, bitch, you can do it. She can do it. I was not the one. Not even at my thinnest. I was still 220 solid pounds of woman. As you educate yourself in the body neutrality or body positivity, whatever you want to say, I prefer neutrality. The more I get into it, the less I think every day has to be the best day ever with my body. Some days I feel like a skinny bitch with a double chin, but there are days that I also feel like, oh, today is not a good body day. I don't love the way I look in the mirror today. But what I do love is that when I got pregnant with my son, and I gained 30 pounds with my son, it was like 350, 360 when I gave birth to him in 2019. And having kids, man, it's like the best thing ever. And finding a doctor that actually treats you like a human being, having an OBGYN that treats you like a human being, that doesn't tell you that you need to lose weight every time they see you, is amazing. And then having an actual physical doctor that is the same. There aren't enough people who recognize that fat people are people and we deserve to have good health care. And if somebody comes in with an ailment, it shouldn't always be linked back to how fat they are, or, they deserve to have the proper assessments be done on them. Studies show that people who have some fat on their body, who are in the overweight category, tend to live longer than people in the normal weight category, because their body is more able to handle difficult situations. They've got a little extra something to keep them going. Okay? And I'm not going to disregard, heart health, diabetes, stuff like that. And granted, sure, absolutely, if a doctor puts you on a specific diet for a legitimate medically tested reason, then 100% follow that. Take care of your health first and foremost. The size of your body should not dictate what people say is healthy. So my mom has a bad heart, and it's not a bad heart because she, did stupid shit or was obese or whatever. She's bad cholesterol that's genetic. And she could have been the fittest person on the planet, and she would have still had her cardiac event in 2012. That almost took her out. Thank you, Lord, that she didn't. And that we know, so that we can be tested. Me and my brother can have our hearts tested and check for that bad cholesterol, and check for the things that will keep us here longer with our families. Bob Harper also has the bad genetic cholesterol. When my mom had her cardiac event, I want to say within a year or two, Bob had his cardiac event. And I remember being like, Mom, Bob Harper, and you had the same type of back. Like, it was gonna happen when it was gonna happen. Which was kind of a relief, as bad as that sounds, to find out that no matter what you do, if you've got it, no matter how healthy you are, if you've got it, you better be on the medicine to take care of that. And I've been tested. I actually recently had a heart scan done to make sure my arteries were good to go and there was no buildup anywhere, and everything is peachy keen. We are good. And I remember leaving that appointment feeling like it's like breath of fresh air, right? Breath of fresh air, because I had the confirmation, something that I had been, worried about and had been on my mind. But literally within a day, I went back to the mindset of like, but what if? Like, is this like gonna stay this way? Is it gonna progress quickly? Even after having blood work done, and like, again, things are coming back and things are coming back good and clear. But because the narrative of the diet industry is that if you are fat, you are unhealthy. If you have fat, your life expectancy is lower. If you have fat, your enjoyment of life and in your enjoyment of living is less. And really, that's fucking bullshit. That is codswallop. Because they say you have to have weight loss surgery. And the amount of times that I've tossed around the thought of weight loss surgery in the last 3 years since I had my kid. It's a lot. It's a lot more. And I have a doctor. My doctor is amazing, and she advocates. And when, actually the first time I made an appointment with her is because I know that you need a referral to get in to see somebody about weight loss surgery. And I talked to her, and she was like, well, you just had a kid. And I had just had my son. It was maybe 2 months postpartum since having my son. And she's like, you just had a kid. What do you, like, your body's still healing and coming back? And I was like, yeah, but like, I don't know, I'm not losing weight, blah, blah, the whole thing that you go through. I had been in a thought process of, if I am not losing weight, there is something wrong. If my body is this size and I am doing all the things that I'm supposed to be doing, eating, exercising, not even like excessive exercise, like normal amounts of exercising, why can't I lose weight? Well, my body, after living 15, 20 years on a fucking diet, is like, bitch, you're gonna have to try harder than that if you want to lose weight. Because it doesn't want to be in that state. It doesn't want to be in that starvation. Starvation means not a thing. What do they call it? Famine. Feast or famine, right? If you have access to food, then, you should be eating food. And of course, the medical jargon and all that stuff. Like I said, I'll link books down below, the ones that you have pictures that give you all the medical jargon from people who are far more qualified than I am. But what I take away from them is that when your body is deprived of certain things, and you can use this in a small sense of like, when you're on a diet and you're deprived of things, you crave things that you wouldn't normally crave. So remember, like that, like bone deep desire for a cookie or a piece of cake or ice cream or whatever. And the minute you let yourself have that thing that you've been like, oh, I just need to have it. You can't just eat one. You can't just have one donut, right? You're like, fuck it. Can I get 2 donuts? 3 donuts. Can I have 5 cookies? I'm gonna get the Oreo bag, and I'm only gonna have the serving size, which is 2. Just kidding. I'm gonna have like 1 whole roll of Oreos, and we're gonna be good. Because your body needs those things, and when you deprive yourself of those things, and you crave those things. So, in not depriving yourself of anything, and like I said, unbeknownst to me, coming about this as organically as I was feeling it out, because I was like, I really don't want a diet. I don't like being on a diet. I don't like the way it makes me feel. I don't like the restrictive nature. I like to cook. I like to bake. I eat a lot of really good meats, produce, Sure, I make baked goods and I like a cookie and a cake and a cinnamon roll and all. I like those things, but I make those things also to share. Food is love for me. Sharing food and creating a meal for somebody makes me warm. It like gives me good, happy feelings. Seeing somebody smile or be like, this is so good, thank you so much, it's, this is delicious. Or having my husband bring baked goods to the guys at his work and they'd be like, can she make blah, 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 blah. I haven't had this since I was a kid, can she do that? And I'm like, yeah, I can find a recipe, let's see if we can do this. And that makes me happy. That makes me like, that is a genuine joy of mine. So in the process of coming into food, into a good relationship with food, into body neutrality, I also discovered this deep rooted love of food and cooking, and not from an obsessive, I'm gonna binge standpoint, but from I really enjoy creating these things and eating these things, and I'm creating them. So I know what's in them. I know that it's not, fake things, fake food. That's kind of how I snowballed into where I'm at now. I kind of just let myself put the feelers out there. Had my son in 2019. I was pregnant by August of 2020 with my daughter. He was born in May. Is that right? August? Math is hard. Okay. So I hadn't lost maybe 10 pounds since after I gave birth, and then I gained, and I'm back down. Right now I'm about sitting at like 350-ish. And coming to the realization that I'm actually comfy in having children and having them and wanting them to have a good relationship with food, a healthy relationship with food, to not feel like certain foods are off limits, to not feel like they are less of a person because they ate XYZ, because they had birthday cake at a birthday party, because they had pizza at a pizza party. Oh my God, fucking God forbid you had pizza at a pizza party. You must have been eating the salad. You can only have one piece. Man, if you want 2 pieces, you want 3, go ahead and have it. Because here's the rub. When you get to a place where you are no longer restricting what you eat, when you are no longer restricting what foods are okay with you to eat, you stop craving those things that you craved before. You stop obsessing over every little thing, so that you can, like, some days you just, like, you're not hungry. And if you're not hungry, you don't eat. Give me an idea how used to eating on a schedule I was because of over exercising and training, that like I ate even when I wasn't hungry. I ate because, oh, I have to eat, like, these are my calories, like I have to eat them. And then you'd have like another day where you're like, I'm so hungry, I have literally ate everything that I was supposed to eat today and I am still hungry. Okay, so on the day that you're not hungry, it's okay if you maybe eat one meal. You're not hungry. You've checked in with yourself, right? You're trusting yourself. You're trusting your ability to say, I'm not hungry, I am full. You're trusting your ability. You're not saying, I'm not going to eat the rest of this meal because I'm going to save it for later, because I don't need to eat the rest of this meal. We're conserving calories. Okay, I'm going to have dessert. But here's the rub. That's still a form of restriction. That's still a form of dieting. It's like unconscious dieting. It's unconscious restriction. I'm not going to eat this sugar. I'm going to cut all sugar out of I'm going to cut all carbs out of my diet. What happens? Been there. I mean, I've been there. You're probably good for maybe 10 to 30 days, right? If you're good, like a really good, strong willpower. And after that 30 days, you're like, oh, I'll have a cheat. I'm going to have a cheat day. I'm gonna eat all the things I don't use. I wanna go drinking with the girls. I'm gonna have a cheat night. And you feel like shit. You feel like shit the next day. Not because you overdrank, but because you ate all the stuff you weren't supposed to eat, and like you punish yourself. On top of the fact that now you've had a taste of the goods. So now it's harder to resist. So even though you're trying to stay on your diet, Susie at work brought cookies today, and you passed them by all day. You thought, like, no, my willpower is strong. I'm not gonna eat these cookies. You keep passing it by. By the end of the day, you're like, fuck it, one cookie's not gonna do me. Except for one cookie's not gonna cut it. You need 2. You need 3. If nobody's around, you're taking 5. You're sticking 3 in your purse. You're gonna eat 2 at your desk. You're gonna have the other 3 in the car ride home, and you're gonna be like, nobody's gonna know. Or you're gonna do that, and you're gonna be like, well, fuck it, I blew my diet already, so I'm gonna just go to McDonald's. I'm gonna go to Arby's. I'm gonna go Dairy Queen, get myself a Blizzard. I've been there, like, hardcore in it. Restricted yourself so much that you start hiding eating these foods that shouldn't be a big deal. You want to have one of Susie's cookies because they're fucking delicious and she makes them all the time. Eat a cookie. Because here's the thing. If you always have, or if you have access to it regardless of if Susie made them randomly on a Tuesday, you may or may not want that cookie. It might not be the thing that you want. You might take a cookie out of respect for Susie because thank you for making cookies today. And you bring it home and you put it in the microwave, or you put it in a plastic bag and you eat it the next day. Because you're like, I don't really want it today, so I'll have it tomorrow. The freedom I feel, I'm not gonna say you, me, I feel from no longer obsessing over every little thing. From being able to go out to dinner and think, I really want a salad. I'm going to have a salad. It's not like I really want a salad because I'm like, I want a salad. I really want a salad. No, like I want a salad and I'm also going to have XYZ. I'm going to have 2 beers and I'm not going to feel bad about it because I'm a mom with 2 children that are 1 and 2. And my ass doesn't go out ever. So when we go out, we're going to do it. We're going to do it. And I don't crave that stuff anymore. I don't crave an Oreo. Shit, we barely have anything in the house. You know what it's like to have pints of ice cream in the freezer and they don't get eaten? You eat like a little here, a little there. By the time you go to, like, it's been 3 weeks and you're like, ooh, frostburn, gotta throw that out. I used to sit and be like real strict on my diet and then sit down and eat a whole pint of Ben & Jerry's and be like, man, why couldn't I stop? And then it was like, what the fuck else do I got in the house? And on to the next. I spent a long time being like that, eating like that. When you get to the place where you can have things in your house and you don't have to like individually baggy things and portion control. Your body knows what you want. If I'm gonna eat a plate of carrots, cooked carrots, because let me tell you something, when I'm pregnant, the damn cooked carrots at Bob Evans are the God's gift to the whole damn world, and I gotta have them, and I'm gonna eat a whole plate of them, and I want nobody to judge me, and I want you to look at me, and you just leave me and my carrots to be alone with each other, okay? And that's the point you get to. You get to the point where food doesn't hold you hostage. She's like, nah, piece is good, yeah, cool. I always have prepped fruit in my fridge. I always have prepped vegetables in my fridge. I always have stuff for protein shakes and frozen fruit and the whole kit and caboodle. If I want anything, I have got it. Because not having access to something like that only makes you want it more. And the way I feel about my body now versus 3 years ago like I said, some days are good days and some days are bad days, and I don't always like them, and I don't always like the way my clothes fit, and I don't always like the number on the scale. But what I do know is that my body is a good body. It takes so good care of me. I sleep well. I can take care of my children. I can carry both my kids at one time. I throw them both over my shoulders. Shira in the house. I'm like, I can chase after my kids. And I want for myself. And part of the healing process of, disordered eating or disordered exercising is that you get so fucking tired of it that if you never work out again, it'll be too soon. And I got to that point. That forcing myself to work out and forcing myself to do it. I'm finally, after 2 years, because I did start working out a little bit with, before I got pregnant with my daughter. I finally, after 2 years, am just now starting to feel like, I really want to find a yoga studio. I want to start a regular yoga practice. And, my husband and I we're like, oh, let's take the kids to the park, or let's go to the zoo, or let's go on a walk. I'm finally getting to the point where that type of stuff excites me and makes me happy, and I don't feel like I'm exercising because I'm eating poorly. I feel like I'm doing things that make me happy, that bring me joy. I would love to get back into lifting, even a little here or there. Not because I ever have any ideas on competing again. I never want to be that tied to the gym ever again. Never, ever again. But I would love to be able to do some of my old group fitness routines, kick my own ass, overall with just like a little bit better cardiovascular health, because heart issues run in my family. And I think on the other side of being fat phobic and really being quite nasty to my body, I can, I'm finally taking the blinders off, right? So these are my sears. Put my sears on because I'm blind. But realistically, taking the blinders off and actually seeing and acknowledging what food does for my body, what food brings me joy-wise, what movement does for my body, and what I like to do, Saturday morning dance parties with my family, even if we're just being silly for 20 minutes. I really enjoy that. I don't know if this will help anybody, and I don't know if my story is even all that compelling. What I do know is that being a fat person is not morally right or wrong. It is neutral. It is totally neutral. My body is the vessel that I exist in, and it is not less than somebody else's opinion of me or view of me. And when you take all of that out of the equation and you realize that, sure, sometimes people are going to say mean shit, man. It's hard. It's still hard being fat. It's not as hard as it was in the 2000s, in the 90s. But it's still hard. But when you can be comfortable with yourself and when you can set boundaries for the people around you on what they can and can't say about your body, I appreciate you caring about me, and I understand that your thoughts on my size are coming from a place of love, but I'm comfortable. I'm a large person. I will always be a large person. I clearly will always be a large person. And that's okay. That's okay. I'm okay with it, so you don't have to be. You don't have to be okay with it because it's not your body. It's not your life. We're all individual people, and this is not me telling you how to live your life and be comfortable in your own skin. We each have to come about it out our own ways, and if you're not ready for that type of thought process and life, that's okay. That's okay, and it's not my place to tell you how to live your life and how to get out of there. But what I can say is, if you're miserable and you're tired, we're not supposed to be those things. We're really supposed to be happy, and we're supposed to be comfortable. And we don't have to be miserable and tired and sick and tired of the same old same. And not every day is going to be a good day. Some days you're going to hate what you see in the mirror. Some days you're going to love what you see. Some days you're going to feel like a goddess. And some days you're going to feel like pond scum. And that's okay too. We don't have to fake positivity. We don't have to fake how we feel for anybody. Least of all yourself. But what you should do is that you should take the time to look into things. Look into ways to maybe change your perspective. Listen when somebody says that, for an example, you go into a store, if I go into a store and they're like, they have the plus size clothes in this little tiny rack, right? You go through and you're looking at the sizing on there and you're like, there's no way. Nah, your fucking life that this is a 3X. My ass. At most it's an extra large. And if somebody comes up beside you and you're like, oh, this is not the rack for you, honey, this is the plus size rack. So this is the fat folk rack. And they're gonna say, oh, you're not fat. I'm like, I am. It's fine. I'm cool with it. It's not the end of the world. Everybody has fat. And no, contrary to popular belief, everybody has fat. Some people don't look like they've got that much fat, but some people do. Some of us got a little extra something to roll around in, okay? Doesn't make me any less valuable as a person. Doesn't make me any less valuable as a mother, as a wife, as a friend, as a daughter. Ultimately, my fatness is just my body. No big deal. Had 2 healthy full-term pregnancies. Was fat. Was markedly, probably, what is the BMI, which is bullshit, by the way, obese, morbidly obese. Okay. Even at my thinnest, I was morbidly obese. So you can kiss my left butt cheek, packing lunch, because on the way to the right butt cheek, you're gonna need it. And that's really all I've got. I just want you to be open-minded and respect yourself, because you deserve it. All right. I love you. Have a good night. It's too late. I gotta go to bed. I'm an old lady. Gotta go to bed. Gotta let the dogs out. Got shit to do. Bye now.